Hey everybody, welcome to Area 51 Raceway. So we're here at the workbench, and I'm going to go over my redo my goring, my cutting of these. So I have a bad habit with this ruler of saying millimeters instead of centimeters. When you're doing a video, excuse me, when you're doing a video and you're talking, you really mean to say one thing, but then it comes out another. I don't know if you guys experience that. That happens to me quite a bit. So, and there's a couple of guys that correct me, which I appreciate it, which was Jerry and RC. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, because I looked at it briefly. It's somebody who does RC work, and they're right. This is centimeters. When I was cutting a tube, it was 4 centimeters, not 4 millimeters. So I apologize about that. Again, you say things and they don't come out the way you want to say it. And then I had already produced a video and I didn't add a correction, and I should have. And I was like, well, it's too late. I already posted. I'll come back to it and correct myself. So with that being said, that's all said and done. Now, what I'm going to go over is also another guy that pointed out something, and he messaged me. It was Rel, Rel, really good guy. He does real good builds, and he told me, hey, you forgot about the bushing. How it's a little bit thicker on your axle. That's why the front was kind of exactly the same as the rear, because I went by the by the tube without the bushing. So the bushings are 0.70, or excuse me, let me get that correct now. So the bushings are point 0, excuse me, 0.70 millimeters. So that's on my caliper. That's what I used here. So I didn't compensate for that. So that's technically times 2. So that's, what's that, 0.140 millimeter. So I got that, a little bit wide. So here's the thing that happens also. So if you make a mistake, like I did like that, it's not a big deal, because what we have are shims, or excuse me, yeah, spacers is what I want to say, not shims, but axle spacers. So Stock Car Corner carries these spacers that are available from 10,000s to 60,000s, and that's what I use, and to compensate that. So what I did was the rear axle, as I was putting it on, we were sizing on a car yesterday how wide it would be with the tires, so they look nice. uh, we added a 50,000s purple axle spacer to the rear of this right here, on the rear axle assembly. And so what I did was, in order to get the same width for the front, we added two 40,000s red axle spacers and two 50,000s purple axle spacers. So basically, with the rear axle, just the tube itself is 41.30 millimeters. With the spacers, it's 42.78 millimeters. That's including the bushings. And then so the total, the axle, would be 60.96 millimeters. And the front, what we did with the front was, we had originally cut it to 40.54 millimeters. And then I added the spacers, both the spacers, the 40,000s and 50,000 spacers. That gave me without, the wheels, 44.94 millimeters. Now with both of these together, now these both are equally the same at 60.96. Let me turn this on and you'll see as I do this. So just correcting, what's going on. Well, 60.95, 60.96 close enough, and they're about the same, and that's fine. That's perfect. So if you run into that problem where it's not exactly perfect when you cut it, that's what the axle spacers will do, and it'll help you out, and it just makes things a lot easier to do stuff, to get your sizes right. And again, not all cars are perfect. The Dart, I don't know if you could tell, but the wheelbase was just a teeny bit off, but you know what, it looked pretty cool that way, because when they made dirt cars, they weren't perfect, because they were cars that were cut up and chopped up, and they were just track cars. So that gave it a little authenticity, as for having a mistake there a little bit. But you know what, I went with it. It looked good, it runs good. let it rip, potato chip. So, but I just wanted to go over that and explain that, so people are kind of not scratching their head going, why is he saying millimeters instead of centimeters? Because a little damn ruler, I always do millimeters, and it says here cm, and I always do that. That happens a lot on my videos. I will try not to do that anymore. It's just what comes out, and what's done on the video is done on the video, and I will definitely try and make that better. Another thing too, one of the other guys comment where these came from. These are from Soccer Corner. These are storage containers. They're 99 cents. I posted a link in the reply for somebody, and that's just want to point that out and appreciate them commenting on that. And I had a problem with my YouTube where some of the comments got deleted on accident, which that wasn't my intention, but I was trying to do something on my phone, and then my phone fell, and I don't know what happened, if it just what the heck happened, but some of the comments got deleted. That was on accident, so it wasn't on purpose. So just be aware of that it's like I can't take that back. So, but anyways, I'm glad the guys that commented, I appreciate it. The input, again, centimeters, not millimeters. But on to the next thing. So what we're going to talk about on the second part is putting the soldering the chassis. So one thing I want to note that these, if you get any little containers, this is great to keep parts in. So when you have your parts, you could put them here, and this is like your tray of parts, and then you can set this somewhere else out of the way so it doesn't get in the way, and you don't have parts lying all over, and then it's just a mess. And then if you end up losing things, especially if you're first time builder, what's a Soccer Corner chassis kit, the Showdown kit, and you won't get things thrown around. Now I'm going to go over this real quick to point something out. Now this is an earlier kit because it doesn't come with the wood pieces for body mounts. So I don't know exactly what they've changed. You can see this has got the old motor, the short camo. These are early kits. For the front axle, I use 81/27 round tube. That's 1/8 round tube. Now what comes in the kit, and I think it still does, is the it should be the 81/51, which is the 1/8 square tube, brass square tube. And they do that for the side rails, and then they have a piece for the front axle, so that'll also fit a 3/32 front axle. If you get a square one, don't worry about it. It works just as good. It's actually easier to solder because you could put, when you bend, which I'll show you later when I bend the wire, it'll kind of curve around that easier than the round one. So in all, it's a little bit better for the first time builder. And later on, if you want to go to the 81/27, like I showed you what I did, you could do that. But we're going to do basically what is mostly in this kit. The only thing I don't use is the guide, the commercial guide. That's just my preference, but the commercial guide works just as well as you saw on the other one, where you don't have to solder a tube like I did. But if you want to go that route, you could always save this guide and get a slot invasion guide, which I'm going to use, the BRM style slot invasion guide with a tube, and solder into the guide tongue. You could do it that way as well, and I could show you that also. But it's just a matter of preference. But the commercial guide works just as well. I'm just showing you how I do it. If you're a first-time builder, stick with this and you should be fine. It works just as well. You just got to remember it's a bigger guide, and it pretends to protrude out more. So you got to make sure you put your guide, tongue plate far back enough to where it hides it under the car, because you don't want the thing sticking out a lot. Now on modified it's a little bit different because you can't hide it, but on a regular, Showdown car, you want to keep it tucked in and kind of hidden away so it looks, pretty cool that way, so you don't have a big guide sticking out. I've done that before a little bit, where they come out a little bit, but you really want to keep it inside the car, underneath, behind the front bumper. It's important. So we're going to get to talking about this right here. So this is the car I'm going to use. And what I've done here is I have marked it right here. Now I did this with the dart, so it actually is the same the same length. As you can see, I marked them there, and this was nice. You could get a black marker, and these are available from Soccer Corner. These are chassis jigs, or you can get them from Amazon, either way. SEC has them. They're there. You might as well just get them there. But if you want to go to Amazon, you can. And then these are injector pins from McMaster Car. Now, you don't have to use injector pins, and you don't have to use setup wheels if you're a first-time builder. You could use what's in the kit. So you could use the wheels and the existing axles to do this. It's not a big deal. I did it early on before I got all this stuff. But if you want to get setup wheels, they're available at Slot Car Corner as well. They have these setup wheels. These are, I'll show you them here in the package. They are these right here. It's a 15 millimeter. And you can get these if you want, and then use the axles that you have that came with the kit. Or you could get injector pins from McMaster Car, and I'll put a link in for that because they have them on Amazon. But the problem with the Amazon ones is that, and I found out, is that they're not exactly the size that you need. 3/32. They're like sometimes a little bit bigger, and then they don't fit in these wheels, and then you have a problem. So McMaster Car is really the best place to go to do this. So that being said, when you have this being pinned up here, and which I've done, so I basically put my marks right here for the panels. And then what I've done is I've kind of like do this by eyeball, and that is setting up the wheels so that they're, you know, right within the body. As that one slides away, but you'll kind of get the point. Let me put this back a little. Hopefully these won't slide when I do this. So you'll see, again, they slide away like that. That one's sliding real easy. So, and I don't have anything to, I don't have any stoppers on there right now, which I should have done. But anyways, you get the point. And it's just to line everything up to make sure that your wheels are where they need to be to the car. It should be, you know, right about there. But you get the point what I'm saying. If this doesn't slide, little bastards, yeah, they did. But just like that. So that's what you're achieving. So how you do that is you pin these here with the pins that you could get also at SEC. These are the pins that you get with the block. They're separate, so you have to buy the pins separately. And you pin these axles right here, or your axles that you get from your kit. And what you're going to do is make sure that they're even. Now there's a couple of ways of doing it. You can mark it and count, or, and this is real important, you could get a caliper. This is why we always say get a caliper. Calipers are a real handy tool. It really helps you with everything. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to measure from here to here to the end of the block, right? And I got 47.91. Do the same for the other side, and it's the same thing. Now, you know, if you're crooked, it's going to be either too big or too short, and you're going to notice that. So you're fine right there. See that? Perfect. And you go do the back as well. Excuse me as I bump the camera there again. So we have 68.37, and we'll do this again right here, and you're fine. Then you could also check your wheelbase too if you want. Like right here, you could go right here. So 85.39. Go back over here and check, and you're 85.39. See, you're square. That's good. You're in a good spot there. You're where you need to be. And that's one way of, you know, doing it with the caliper. The other way you could count, because these all have individual holes here where you put the pins, and they're all the same. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And I'm counting the holes on the outside. As you can see here, there's holes on the outside of this, not the inside. There's the outside holes. See right here. I'm counting the ones on the very outside. That's what I'm doing. And then up to where I'm at with the pin here, where it is, and then you count here. You could do it that way. But really, I recommend the caliper to be better. And then a sharp eye helps. You could look at this and see that it's pretty square. I mean, if you could tell if it's crooked, if it was like this, you know, it'd be pretty obvious. But if you want to be exact and you're not sure, use the caliper. The caliper is a very handy dandy tool. It's one of the most important tools in building stock car chassis. They have inexpensive ones. This is a Minitoyo. This is a real good caliper. It's a little bit more, But you could get a regular eBay, digital one, as long as it's metal. Do not use plastic, 'cause plastic will wear out here, whereas metal doesn't. So you want to do that. Make sure you have a really good caliper, really important. So now we're going to get into soldering and talk about soldering now that we have this kind of set up the way we have it right now. Okay, big question. Can I solder? Soldering's tough. I know all that stuff. It's really not that hard. A lot of people will lack the patience of letting the metal heat up and letting the acid flux and the solder do its job. Now here's a piece I'm going to show you real quick. It's just, you have to listen. Again, I'm putting flux all over this. And I've cleaned these parts. As you can tell, there's little marks on them, obviously. And I cleaned it with sandpaper or with, some emery. Not emery, but I forget what you call it, Scotch-Brite. So you could use that. So you can see I have flux on here. And then you're going to use your solder, right? And you're going to get a little on your, just like that. Now this is going to move around, so I'm going to use a little rat tail file to hold it on. So you're going to hear it sizzle. And what you're going to do is leave it on there. And this is important because you're going to see that flow. You're going to watch it and you're going to see it move around. You see that's already moving around, if you could see that, because I've heated it up. And don't be afraid to get this hot, because getting it hot is going to do its job. It's not going to do anything to it. You just don't touch it after you're done soldering it, obviously. Let it cool. You can see how everything flows. Look at that. Look how much time I leave it on there. Quite a while. And you want that all to do its job. And then you can do a wipe like that. And there you go. There's a soldered piece right there. It's not that hard. You can see that looks pretty good. That really penetrated in there and got everything you needed and soldered it. And then, if you want to be, how would you say, very, not picky, but I would say just very particular, that some guys will sand this down later, clean it up and then polish it, which you can do that. You can see how hot I got this. And, put more flux on here. But the whole idea is you're allowing the flux and the heat and the solder to all work together to do its job. And I'll put a piece like that there, just a plain piece. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to just fry this and you're going to see how it moves. Look how it moves all along here. See, that's kind of the perfect thing you want to do when you're soldering, is you want it to nice flow like that. See how that looks shiny. That's what the flux and the solder and the heat of your iron are doing. And of course that's really hot. So you don't want to touch it. And then I'll do this round tube on this side here, and I will get some flux, put it there, and I'll get a little bit on my iron here, and I'll just go like this, and just let it flow. And that's what you're going to do when you're soldering your axle tube, which you'll see. Just see, even that moved around because you heated everything. Yeah, that moves around like that. So I mean, obviously you'll have this pin, but it's just showing you this as an example. Soldering is not very hard. It's very easy to do. It's just you have to have the patience and use the right materials and a good iron. So you want a good iron. That's really important. Amazon sells those Weller irons. Those do just as well. And I believe it's 40 watts or more is what you want. I'll double check that because I'm not sure, but I think it's 40 or more. This is, again, not hard to do, so you can see it now. That's on there. It's still a little warm, but it ain't gonna go anywhere. It has a good solder. That's basically what you want to do, is heat, patience, and let everything work for you, and you're gonna see it. You have to watch it. When you watch it flow, and you're gonna see it flow, you pretty much got a good soldering joint. So let's solder the axle tube onto the motor bracket. All right, here we are. We're going to do soldering of the axle tube to the motor bracket, and we have them pinned here because what I've done is I've measured here to make sure they're equal distance. Get as close as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. As long as it's pretty close, and we're there, 919. It'll take time, and then you pin it. As you can see, we pinned here on the motor, the bracket, and on the ends of the tube. And then also what I've done is I've got a motor and put it on there. This is to help with it being flat, to keep this flat. If this is, you don't have the motor on there, this will move around. You can do it, it's just a little bit tougher. You got to be more careful because as you solder the rails, this doesn't give you the extra weight, and this may pick up right here on the back. You may not realize it. So you could use your motor from that you get in your kit and put it on here. Now be aware, when you're done doing all this, if you use your wheels and stuff, you'll want to clean all this up with some CLR or the baking soda and vinegar to neutralize it. And obviously don't dip the motor in it, but you could clean it up a little with a little vinegar and a little baking soda on a rag and just wipe the motor down, because you don't want the flux to what it'll do is it'll start corroding stuff because it needs to be washed. So just keep that aware if you do use your parts from your kit, that you'll have to clean everything. You want to clean it good. So with that being said, we're going to get on the soldering part now. Just like I showed you before how easy it is to do, you're going to see how everything flows here real well. And we're going to move the camera a little close up onto the part, and I'm going to move this up, and we're going to obviously turn on our iron because it's not on, and we're going to get our solder. Get that ready. Okay. And what we're going to do is do the tube first. The bushings we'll do afterwards. We're going to do the tube first. Now the iron's ready, and what I'm going to do is put it on the inside here, just like that. And I'm going to get my iron ready, and then get me some solder, like that. And I'm going to just go back here and just like I said, let it do its job. And you're going to let that flow all around the tube, and you have to keep it there. Keep that in mind. The heat again and the flux excuse me, and the solder are going to do the job. As you see, it's melting it, and it's flowing all the way around the tube, which is exactly what I want to do. And you ain't going to kill the part by leaving, or kill the brass by leaving heat on it like this. It'll take a lot of heat. It's just you can't touch it. You gotta let it cool down. But we're going to do that, and you see how long I've kept it there, and I'm just letting this do the work instead of me trying to be in a hurry. So right about there should be good. I'll take it off. There you have it. There's that one right there. And you'll see it went all the way around the tube. Oh, there we go. See that? All the way around the tube, like it should have. Exactly what we want to accomplish when we are soldering pieces. I'm going to do the other side, and I'm going to get flux. I'm going to go on the inside. I usually like going on the inside. If you want to go on the outside, you can. It's totally up to you. It's just my preference. Get solder. Go around my camera if I don't bump it, because the cord's right here. And I'm going to do that. And I'm going to let it do its job. And all you're doing is letting all the heat, solder, and the flux do the work. As I repeatedly say that. You see how long I'm leaving it on here? I'm not just putting it on here and expecting it to melt instantly. It's not a torch, it's a soldering iron. You have to give it time to do its job. It's got to heat all this up and work its way around the bracket and the tube and everything else. And since I've already been heated up before, it's doing really quick, doing it real quickly right now. So I'll leave it there longer and get a lot of heat on it. Make sure everything flows. And there we go. That's it. That is the deal. And it's not difficult. You can see it did everything it needed to do. My setup wheels fall off. But there you go. I mean, that's what you want. Really, really easy. Not difficult. We'll let that cool a little. and we're going to put the bushings in. All right, now that this is cooled off and I'm not going to burn myself, what I'm going to do is get my bushings into my axle tube here. And I'm going to show you something else, a trick that was kind of like shown to me by, not kind of, it was shown by Mr. Michael Squire, and it's a pretty good idea. I like it. I've kind of integrated into me putting these bushings in, and again, you don't have to do it this way. It's just I thought it was kind of a cool idea, and this is what's great about other people that scratch build, is that they share these little things, and you can pass it on to somebody else. And if you make a better mousetrap, heck, let me know too, because all the tricks are good to know what's happening. And this is being stubborn. There we go. Being a little stubborn there. But here's the trick here. So these little springs are from ballpoint pens. This is a Sloccar Corner ballpoint pen. You take that out, and there's the spring. And springs will last quite a while, and that's a couple builds I've already done with these springs. So if you could cannibalize 2 of these Sloccar Corner pens when you get your order, or any ballpoint pen that you have lying around World War II that has springs like this is a pretty good trick. And what you do is you use axle stoppers, 332nd axle stoppers, and we're going to take my glasses off. We're going to put pressure on this bushing and lock it in place, because we're putting pressure against the outer part of this axle to keep them from moving, instead of using the pins, which you can use the pins, but sometimes you want to be careful you don't cockeye this bushing, because the pins kind of tend to move it sometimes, not always. But this is just a little trick, like I said, that actually works pretty good. I like it, so I've been doing it ever since. Now I put pressure on there. Now these springs are putting equal pressure around the bushing so that they stay in place. And when you solder, now there's other tricks, excuse me, that you could do with soldering. Harry does get the tube, clean it up, and then he puts a little solder in there with flux, and then he heats it up. And what happens is that when you heat up out here, the solder from the inside will heat up and it'll come out also. You could do it that way if you want. I generally just do it from the outside. It's just me. But again, everybody has different tricks and different ways of doing things, and that's what's great about this, is that you could share all this and show everybody. Just build a better car or whatever you're comfortable with. So what we're going to do is we're going to, as I bump the camera again, the camera is like right here, and I don't have a holder that's from above, so it's on a tripod. So when you see me bump it, that's what's happening. What I'm going to do is, iron's all ready to go, nice and hot. I'm going to get a little bit of solder, and we got flux there, and then we're going to do just that. And what you're going to do again is put it on here and add heat. And heat is what's going to make everything flow all the way around that bushing and around the tube and everywhere. You got to remember that. You got to give it time to move, and you're going to see it flow all over, because that's what's happening when you put heat on it. And doing just that. And hear it sizzle and let the solder flow all the way around. That's what we're doing. And there we go. Double check it there. And again, we could double check it, make sure. Now we could hit it again. It looks like it did just that. It went all the way around there. So that's good. And then we could double check it, and then make sure it's good. And we can also just, you can do this also, is add more flux if you want, and add more heat. And then that'll get that solder that I left on there flowing even more around the whole thing. And you can hit it again. And this is not going to move because the spring is right up against there with the stopper pushing it, so you can't push the bushing out on accident when you're putting, when you're going up against, like I'm doing here. There we go. And there's that. Good. That looks pretty good. That flowed all the way around there. I like that. That did fine. So now we're going to do the other side. And get flux. And Forgive me if I bump my camera. Wait, let me clean the tip here. Clean the tip. And add some solder. Come around the camera with the wire from the soldering iron, and then go ahead and go at it. And just get some heat on there. And just keep it on there. The key is keeping it on here. Keep that iron on your part. Let the solder and the flux flow. I constantly say that because you put it on here and you get impatient, you leave it on for 10 seconds and you think it's gonna like melt instantly. That's not gonna happen. You have to let it work and do the job. And that's what it's doing right now. You can see, I can see it flowing all the way around there. You can see how long I'm leaving it on here. You're not gonna kill the brass by doing this. You just don't want to touch it after you're done. Get a little cool. And I say that a lot because people burn themselves that way. And there you go. That's it. That looks good. Don't put your tongue on that. And there you go. Pretty easy. Pretty easy to do. There you go. I'm finished up with that. And I'm just running one of my cars here just for fun. I hope you enjoyed this part 2 of putting a basic inline chassis together. But we're pretty much done for this part, as if I keep going on, it would be a very long video. But thank you for watching as always, and you take care and have fun racing.